Hey everybody, welcome back to Relentless Bikers. This is a Relentless Talk Radio special edition where we're celebrating motorcycle culture. This is segment 2 of the first episode of Relentless Bikers, and I'm talking with Lee. Is it Gipe? Is that how I say your last name?
Yeah, Gipe, yes.
Okay. And I just got done talking to Alicia Walker. She was the biker chick contingent of the day, and now Lee is going to tell us the male perspective of loving to be a biker. So Lee, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name's Lee Gipe. I am a carpenter, but I've been laid off for a while, so I've just been riding this whole summer. My wife's been working at home since this all started with the COVID, so mid-June she came to me and says, I think it's a good time for you to go see your family and friends. So I ended up riding 8,500 miles going seeing family and friends and getting out of her hair. So it didn't bother me because I just love to ride anyway. So
that's hilarious. She's like, I may kill you, so it might be safer for you.
Yeah.
To go have an adventure. See, now there's a biker chick wife. You know, we wanted to touch on that later, but one of the things we talked about kind of pre-episode is that for you, and I'm going to grab a picture of your pretty wife. For you, it was really important, and I'll put my glasses on because I'm an old lady and I'm blind. For you, it was really important to have someone in your life that rode, right?
Right.
How come?
Well, my late wife, riding on the back of a motorcycle wasn't her thing, but she didn't keep me from riding, which I really appreciated because that was my happy place. So, and it was because of her that I actually ended up meeting Vicky because before she passed away, she knew me as a person, and she says, you need to promise me that you'll get out there and meet people because I'm just not that type. And I says, well, it says, no, you have to promise me. So I promised her, and then I joined the local hog chapter, and that's how I met Vicky.
Well, Leah, first I want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. I have friends that have lost a spouse. Recently, I was just talking with my friend Lori Witters, who lost her husband this past year, and my mom just lost her husband. And when you've been in a long-term marriage, especially with somebody who knows your heart that well, it's not an easy loss. So I'm so sorry for your loss.
Well, thank you.
And good selecting your first wife because she actually loved you.
Oh, she really did. I mean, we were together 19 and a half years. And yeah, she knew me really well. And so I kept my promise, and that's how I ended up marrying Vicky. So
I actually met you through Vicky, through Jennifer Sievers. So you were right. Jennifer Sievers, who's the leader of Motorcycle Princess. And your wife is the leader of the Scottsdale Litas chapter, which I always want to say Lolitas, but it's Litas. Right. And so she's very active in the women's community, and she's her own biker. She's her own chick.
Right.
And I love that. And so she has her own bike. Two, right? And she gets that for you, you know, your wind therapy is going to, you know, get you into a better place. And what a great adventure to have. I mean, if you're going to on an adventure, right?
Right.
So what was your first bike?
It was a Honda 350.
So tell me about that.
Well, it all started when I was about 14, 15, and my dad and his brothers were going through some old pictures, and they showed pictures of them riding an Indian, and they were just having a blast. And I said, well, when I turn 16, I'm going to get a motorcycle. And my mom says, no, you have to wait till you're 18. So on my 18th birthday, I had saved up for 4 or 5 years and went and bought the Honda 350 from a friend, and that was my first adventure on a bike. And I haven't looked back. That was October 27th, 1974.
Awesome. And that was your first ride on a motorcycle?
No, I'd ridden, but I couldn't tell my mom that I had ridden. Bikes, and I would go and ride their bikes, but I could never tell her that I was riding them.
So what was that? We talked about this is the first episode of Relentless Bikers. And so this is in the beginning. And I told my story of how my first ride, which was kind of insane. I'll kind of summarize it briefly for this episode. But the first time you rode, what was the feeling that you had? The first time you rode, what was the feeling that you had?
Oh man, it was awesome. It was just, you know, and back then you didn't have a helmet, and I didn't even have sunglasses. I was just riding, you know, just, and the freedom, you know, just riding, it was just so awesome. And I grew up in eastern Colorado where there are not a lot of paved roads. So I was riding on gravel. So if you went down, you were going to get scraped up pretty good.
You know, I often think I want to go get a sports bike and do that, because I told it in the first story, the first day that I rode my bike, I dropped it on loose gravel. And I don't think I've ever lost that fear of loose gravel. Like that's one of the things. I'd rather, loose gravel is super dangerous, but that feeling of how quickly it went down, I think if I were to go out on a sport bike, it might help me with that a little bit. It's on my list of things to do. Right. So it's just to kind of, you know, be a little more rough and tumble and have gear on me and just kind of play with the gravel might help a little bit. So how about what you're riding now? Say again? What are you riding now?
Well, this is my, the picture you're showing now is my Fat Boy. That's my short distance bike. And then I have an Ultra Limited. That's my cruiser that I take long distance. The Ultra Limited is named after my grandmother, Mo. And so Mo and I have gone about 60,000 miles together.
Your motorcycle is named after your grandmother.
Yeah, she passed away when she was 96.
Wow.
And that's where I got my adventures spirit from, was because she was just always doing something new, trying something new, going somewhere. So I took after her a lot.
That's awesome. Well, so here you are standing on a corner in Wisna, Arizona.
Right.
There's so many pictures by that sculpture.
Oh,
I wonder. This is a really awesome song. So let me flip around I got myself flipped out here a little bit. Hang on. Okay, there we go. I was trying to flip screens and I got a little wacky there for a second. So you have ridden every state except for flipping Alaska.
Yes.
Now, I've ridden across country 3 times, so I realize how huge that is. I think collectively those rides were probably 20,000 miles between the those 3 rides. But if you've been across, how many miles do you think you've ridden collectively? Do you know?
Since I started, I'm probably closing in on 400,000.
Oh, that's so amazing. Do you still get scared?
Only when I'm in an area that I don't know, and I'm more afraid of the people that are around me than I am of the bike. I'm pretty comfortable riding.
After 400,000 miles, yeah, right?
Right. You have to have a little bit of fear to respect the bike.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever lose that fear completely, then that's when you get into problems. So I always have just a little bit of fear.
You know, I think that's true. I always tell new riders, like, if you don't feel fear, there's something wrong, because you're on a motorcycle and there's pavement and the pavement always wins, I say. So if you haven't got a healthy respect for that, then you're really kind of doomed to meet the pavement at some point. They always say that there's 2 kinds of bikers, ones that have gone down and one that have yet to gone down. I'm always really grateful the times I've gone down have been like, what did one of my girlfriends say? Like, her bike faints. Like, you know, I've had 3 fainting situations where I've been in a slow rate. The first time was on gravel. The next time was that first time I was on a hill. Right. And I'm learning how to, okay, wait a minute. I'm rolling, shit. And I started to roll back a little bit. I didn't hit the gas fast enough. I wasn't friendly with the throttle gas hill thing. And I fainted. And you can feel it. You can feel it going down. You're like, oh shit, here we go again, right? Fortunately, I still had guardrails on my bike, and I have them on my Road King too now, just because of the front maiden shields that I've got on there. But it started to go down, and I was like, okay, really, the only thing I can do at this point is make sure I don't burn my leg and totally trash the bike. Like, how can I slow this shit down? But I haven't gone down at a fast speed. I have friends that have gone down at fast speeds, but I've always been grateful that my downs have been embarrassingly at stopping lights or with stones. I've been lucky.
Looking at people in the parking lot and fall over.
I have friends that were like, you're on a long ride and you're just delirious, right? And you're a little sleepy. People think how could you possibly fall asleep on a motorcycle? You can, like in a car. And they got to the stoplight and they forgot they didn't have a kickstand, and they just put their feet up and the bike just fell over. Because they forgot to they forgot to just maneuver themselves in the kickstand. So what's your next adventure? You're planning on taking a trip to Alaska now, right?
Right. I was going to do it when we lived up in Seattle, but then we moved down here. And so from here up to Anchorage is 4,200 miles. So it's going to be about a month-long trek. And
4,200 miles.
One way.
That's actually not as far as I thought from here, because I'm still thinking back in Vermont,
Right.
So what time of year are you going to go again?
I'm going to probably go mid-June, because then that way most of the passes that you go through, the snow's gone. And the weather's a little better going up through Canada and into Alaska.
Now, are you going to do some fishing or anything like that? Are you
not much fisherman. My recreation is riding my bike.
So do you camp when you ride, or do you go into are you a glamper or a camper?
I'm way beyond camping. I mean, when I was younger and not as many sore joints, I used to just sleep right beside the bike. But I've gotten older and wiser. We'll do hotels, bread and breakfast, and Airbnbs.
No, I've done both. I always have an air mattress though when I'm camping. I take a big stupid. Everyone says get the smaller one from Amazon. No, I want the big one because I'm 53 and I want the big one. But I love both experiences.
Right.
They're both valid. I think that there's something really kind of cool about being solo and just taking a blanket and a pillow, blow up pillow, and sleeping at a rest area, beside the road for a couple minutes just to get from point A to point B. And there's something like kind of badass and tough about that just makes you feel like you can just do anything, right?
Like you're in the frontier days.
You're just badass. And then there's also, I've been on rides solo and with groups where you stay in a really nice place and you have an amazing meal and everyone's bikes are like all decked out and usually when you're with that group, the day rides are shorter. Have you noticed that?
Yep.
Yeah. But usually when you're with the camping group, those are the ones that are like in it for the pain of it. And the ones that are glamping are kind of like, just in it for the fun of it. And the pain is not remotely appealing anymore. I've enjoyed both.
Right.
So do you and your wife take trips together?
Oh, yes. Our first big trip was our honeymoon. We went from Seattle to Utah to Zion and Arches and saw the national parks there. So it was a fun trip. I think we ended up doing about 6,000 miles on that first trip.
So awesome. So awesome. And have you seen all the national parks?
I'd say about 90% of them.
What's your favorite one?
Boy, that's hard to narrow down. I'd have to say the Grand Tetons and the Grand Canyon are on the top of that list. There's just so many beautiful ones. It's hard to just nail it down. But ones with the mountains is the most fun.
You going because of the riding or because of the landscape, or how come? What do you like the best about it?
All of it. I mean, you could just lose yourself in the roads that wind around in a mountain and the fresh air and the scenery. It's breathtaking. It's just amazing what God put out there for us to see. So
I love that you said that, because for me, when I'm on my motorcycle is when I'm closest to my core self,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm closest to God.
Right.
You know, I knew that I needed to replace my motorcycle after my dad passed during COVID. I was going through massive life changes. And I just said to my mom one day, oh, and she actually said to me, Michelle, you have got to replace Ruby. We're going to end up losing you if you don't replace her. And I thought, you know what? You're not going to lose me, but I'm my mom's person now, so I can't make any of those kind of stupid decisions. But it was important for me to get back on a bike because I needed to get back to my core self and to reconnect with my spiritual life. And I do that on a motorcycle.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if people really get that don't ride. They see kind of tattooed, you know, bearded, you know, big bellied guys and kind of rough looking girls. And they think that we're just rough. But I think that most bikers have some kind of.
There's a spiritual connection to the road and your bike.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can't explain it to people that don't get it, because once you've become part of that, it's just part of you always. I mean, I get on a bike. My dad passed away too early, and
so sorry.
Wherever I went and rode, I always sent him postcards. And so when he passed away, my mom gave me a stack of postcards this big. He had kept every one of them. He lived through me vicariously because he just loved seeing that I got out there and rode. And so,
yeah.
And he rides with me. Even though he's gone, he's riding with me.
100%. My dad died on February 15th. And since he's passed, there's been things that have happened in my life that there's no explanation. Like money just showed up and doors just opened and just things that proved to me that my father is up there with my brother passed away too. So I have two very, very hefty angels in heaven now kind of directing things down for me because I can't explain some of the things that have happened in my favor over the past couple months for sure. I do think that our loved ones ride with us. Do you have a bell on your bike?
Yes, I do.
So tell everybody the bell story, people that don't know the bell story.
Well, the bell story is to ward off evil spirits and evil things that could happen to you. And I can sometimes, when I'm riding, I'm so focused, I can hear it ringing.
Wow.
And people say, no, you can't. I says, yeah, when you get into a groove and you're just total with your bike, you hear everything on the bike. And then there's times you hit a bump, I'll hear the bell. And that's when I know that my dad's with me, when I hear the bell ring. So.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely feel that I do my best thinking, my best praying, and my best resetting and regrouping on my bike. Like if I am having a day, all I got to do is go get on my bike and go for a 20-minute ride. And I'm like, I'm good. But there's something that happens if you pass mile 25. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Like once you get like you're going on a group ride and you're flying down the road and somewhere around 25, your whole body exhales.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like you said earlier, if you had to explain that to somebody, they wouldn't understand. And in the 3 years I didn't ride, I rented different bikes for the first year to kind of decide. That's how I ended up with my Road King. I tried a street glide, a road glide. I tried some different types of bikes and decided on the Road King, being the right one for me right now. And even when I was renting, it wasn't the same because it was like not my bike. I got some relief. You know, I was on a bike. When I was riding with somebody else, I got a little bit of relief because I was on a bike. But the first day that I rode my bike off the lot with at Buddy Stubbs, Alicia is actually saying yes to the bells. She's listening in. Absolutely. So the first day that I rode my bike off of Buddy Stubbs parking lot and I got to the first stoplight, I just had a huge grin on my face. And you know when you're crying but there's no tears, like you can feel like you're literally crying but there's no water coming out of your eyes. I just screamed. So if you heard screaming on May 9th really loud and you're wondering what the hell was that? That was me screaming on the way down Cave Creek Road. And I'm sure anybody who saw me thought I was completely crazy, but I waited 3 years to ride again. And I didn't allow myself to realize how much I missed riding during those 3 years, because it was a necessity. I needed to not be on a bike at that point, given my business and situation, you know. But my mom said to me on the phone one day, I don't care what you do today, but you have got to figure out how to get your ass on a bike. And for my mom to say that, I'm like, wow, I'm that bad? She goes, yeah, you are. It's like your wife saying, oh, you should go visit family.
Yeah.
I love you, but you need some seat time, right?
Yep.
I know. I think that fear that you have in the beginning is cured by seat time, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Most of the time, new riders, everything's in their head, and they overthink. And that's, I don't tell people how to ride, but they ask me, what do I need to do to become a better rider? And I says, get out of your own head, because the bike is so well made and so balanced that all you have to do is just ride it. It takes care of itself. It'll take care of you.
Right.
I says, and just get out of your head and enjoy the ride, because that's what it's all about. Because if you're thinking about it in your head all the time, you're tense. You're not going to relax. And the whole point of riding is to exhale and enjoy the freedom that you have. So that's what I.
A couple weekends ago with some girlfriends. I have a bunch of girls that I ride with. I got sober 20 years ago, and I have a bunch of sober girls that I ride with. And man, can they ride? Okay. They, you know, because we can't do drugs and alcohol anymore. The bike is like our drug, right? So. Right. I'm getting used to a new windshield, new bike, right? I was a little tired, and I felt a little out of sorts. So I said to him, I'm going to get in the back and I'm going to just get used to. And I remember getting to the first couple corners and being like, what am I doing? And then in my head, I'm like the same thing. Michelle, you've ridden across country 3 times. You know how to ride this dang motorcycle. Just push and look. Drop your shoulders, relax. I can feel my body when I'm trying to make the bike go. And then my shoulders will drop and I'll sink back into my back and I just push. Right. And then I hit that first corner and where I know that I'm pushing and I'm relaxing, and it's like, oh. Yep. But I still have those moments where I'm, and it's weird because I didn't have that on Ruby towards the end of my time with her. I rode her for 17 years. So to be back in that place has been humbling, but it'll pass. It's just being back. It's just seat time. Right. 100%.
Yeah. I tell that to everybody. The more you ride, the better you're going to feel, the more experience you pick up. It's a long ride. I mean, I've been doing it for 46 years now. So I've come across a lot of situations, and a lot of times I do it, I don't even think about it. It's just natural to me. Yeah. I've only put a bike down one time, and it was a controlled crash. I had to put it down, and then somebody ran right over the top of my bike.
Crap. Wow.
Yes. So it was all instinct. I heard the squealing tires coming out from the side and this white flash, and I just laid the bike down, and he rode right over the top of it. And then
you just standing on the side of the road looking at your bike. Did the guy stop?
Yeah, he was on top of my bike.
He was stuck.
And then, yeah, he was stuck. And that's when I commenced to pull him out of his car and want to beat the crap out of him, but some people stopped me.
Right.
But yeah, that's the only time I've really put a bike down. I mean, there's been some really close calls, but most of it I get out of it because of all my experiences and being able to just
go through. Did the guy like have an excuse? Did he just like not see you, or what was his deal?
He was showing off with his friends because he just got this car and he wanted to show off, and I said, dude, go show off somewhere else. You didn't even look. He just came out of the alley.
That brings up a good point, the ego. Okay, and I don't think it's just with men, because I've seen young women riders do this too, especially on sport bikes. Mm-hmm. I was in California a couple weekends ago, and you can go you can split the lane in California, and I watched some guys go through there, 150 miles an hour. Okay, because the speed limit is like 75 or 80 in some spots. I'm going 5 miles over. So if they're blowing by me, they're going 100, 120 and not respecting anything. And there's so many kids that have, and I say kids, but people, okay, that have broken their families' hearts because they let the ego ride the bike as opposed to their heart.
Right.
It's important to check your ego at the door because the pavement always wins, right?
Right. I always respect the machine, but I always become part of the machine. That's where you get your respect for the machine. When you become one with the machine, it's just natural. It's just, and you got to respect the machine because it can go fast, but you can't slow down fast. So I've never really been one to really test the limits. I did when I was younger, got pulled over for doing 148 miles an hour.
Super expensive ticket.
Well, the thing is, I pulled over. The blue lights came on. I pulled over, and the officer says, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I says, "Well, I'm pretty sure I was going over the speed limit." He says, "You were doing 148 miles an hour." Wow. He says, "Why were you going that fast?" I said, "Well, the speedometer said 160. Yeah. And he says, "You know, you didn't have to pull over. I would have never caught you." And I says, "Well, that's true, but I can't outrun your radio." And he just started laughing. So I gave him my registration and my license. He came back. "I'm going to give you a really stern warning. Just the fact that you pulled over shows that you respect." He says, "But don't go 148 miles an hour again." I said, "I won't."
I got a couple of friends that have done that. We're up through the mountains, like through Jerome. And they were going around a corner. They had a funny picture of them getting pulled over. And the cop, like, you know, they were going super fast. I don't know how fast they were going. But the cop said, "You know what? I have a sport bike and I can't do it on, how are you guys doing this on baggers? Like, I'm going to let you go. If you guys have clean licenses, I'm going to let you go." And the cop let him go. But, I don't know about, I don't know if it, I don't know. We all go fast at some point or another, and then we kind of learn to respect it. So I appreciate that. My girlfriend, Catherine Hugger, is watching. She's amazing. Her husband is an amazing painter. So I want to say, hey, Catherine. And Alicia is sending us a big smiley face, by the way, because she always goes the speed limit. Mr. Officer, we are not. You can't give us a ticket for telling old stories. I'm just telling you. Okay? Well, Lee, I'm just super excited to get to know you. I'm looking forward to riding with you. One of the reasons why we're doing this show is because I was nominated for the Woman of the Year by the Leukemia Lymphoma Society of Arizona. And part of what I'm doing is next year on April 24th, I'm going to be hosting a poker run that Buddy Stubbs is partnering with me on. So Buddy Stubbs is sponsoring all the Relentless Biker episodes from now until then, and they're sponsoring independently. They're sponsoring the LLS poker run. I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet, but definitely tell your friends about it, because my goal is to, attract this in the motorcycle culture, to tell our story, but also for bikers to know this is happening, because my goal is to raise 50 grand so that we can have a fund created in my dad's name to end blood cancer.
Right.
So I definitely invite you and your buddies and anybody who's listening to this episode to, block off April 24th, because next year we're going to get together and we're going to do our thing for the Frank Micalizzi Fund to help to end blood cancer. Because, if we are able to end blood cancer, we actually do amazing things for all cancers, because blood cancer is kind of like the mom of all the bad boys, right? Having cancer in your blood. So I really appreciate you helping me with that effort. And I also thank Buddy Stubbs. Go ahead.
I have it on my calendar already.
Yay, that's awesome. And I want to thank Buddy Stubbs for being open to partnering with me this year and helping me to get silver on the road. Also, I'm wearing a Syndicate apparel hat. Even though these guys didn't give me this hat for free, people are going to want to know where to get it. This is a super cool hat. And I'm wearing a necklace by my friend Michelle Bellamy. She's an amazing artist. And then during Bike Week, I'm going to be at the Smoke and Crows on the 7th, October 7th at Scottsdale Harley Davidson. So if anybody wants to come down and meet me there, my friend Nikki Smith is playing, and his other band, Deja Crew, is playing on October 30th, the day before Halloween. So are you going to be with us for Halloween for the Phoenix Motor Girls Halloween parade for the kids?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know about it.
So the Phoenix Motor Girls is sponsoring a parade for the kids, and we're all going to dress up. I'm going to be a Vegas showgirl.
Okay.
A big, ridiculous thing. And I'm working with fashion designer Gail Friend on that, and we're finding a fabricator to build the wire framing that needs to go underneath it so it doesn't blow off my head. So bikers really have a heart for service, and we really love to do things for kids, and we like to do things for charity. So I look forward to seeing if those, and we love music. So if you want to come out and see Smoke and Crows on October 7th at Scottsdale Harley Davidson at 1:15, or you want to see Deja Crew on October 30th, and I forget the name of the bar. I'll have to put it in the comments below. But there's plenty of time to research that. So I look forward to riding with you, Lee, and I'm going to be doing a Biker Chicks Unite parking lot conversation at some point with your wife because she's cool.
Okay. That's great.
I really appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, I had a great time. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and thanks Jennifer Sievers for nominating you. And
right.
That's it. It's a wrap. The first episode of Relentless Bikers has been conducted. That's it. We're done.
All right.
Take care. All right, guys, that's it. The first episode has been through. I love talking to Lisa and Lee. Thanks so much for making time today. We'll be here again on the second Friday of October talking with another biker chick and biker dude that Lee and Alicia are going to nominate because this is a tag team. So I get to meet people I haven't met before because I didn't want to just ask people I knew. So that's my story. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, guys.